300 years ago, a cataclysmic event known as the Great Flood covers most of Earth's landmass with water, only leaving a few islands behind. Since then, an electrical storm is constantly blocking the horizon. With the old world buried underwater, survivors build a fortified city called Argos on the ruins. This city is controlled by the immortal founders. Unfortunately, not everyone can move to Argos. The founders take advantage of people's desperation by forcing them to participate in speedboat races known as storm riding. Each island sends 2 riders, and the winner gets to move with all their people to Argos. The losers get their island stripped bare and their people are cast into the sea. Islanders believe that one day a chosen rider will set them free. On Fig Island, Neb sees all the posters and catchy advertisements from Argos promoting the race and even offering sponsorship. Then he goes to help the team in charge of the boat that will represent the island in the next race. His friend Anna shows him a collection of Hammerhead posters and shares the story. Legend says Hammerhead was struck by lightning, that he saved his island, and that he never lost a race. Some people believe he broke through the storm on the horizon and reached the other side. Others think he crashes the races from time to time so he can win a palace for all islanders. Other people don't think he's real at all. Anna thinks this could be Neb and her someday, but her father Lazar tells them they don't need legends because they have him. He says goodbye to his daughter and kisses a photo of his late wife before getting ready for the race. One of the mechanics reminds him that once he gets to Neptune's rock, he'll only have 10 seconds to break away. It turns out Lazar isn't participating to win. He wants to breach the storm to uncover the truth. A commentator on Argos introduces the riders, calling Fig Island the underdog before the race finally begins. All the riders handle their boats with impressive skill and one of them even manages to catch some lightning, which provides quite a boost and pushes that boat into first place. Another rider's cape accidentally covers his vision and causes him to crash into a rock. When a rider tries to move past the boat in first place, the maneuver fails and it ends up crashing too. As soon as there's an opening, Lazar abandons the race and takes the boat toward the storm on the horizon. The commentator says this is the 5th incident this season. Lazar speeds up and tries his best to avoid the lightning, but unfortunately the boat is hit anyway and it explodes. Anna cries and swears to avenge her father as she listens to the news on the radio. The commentator announces that Fig Island is now banned from racing for the next 10 years. A few days later, Neb does a presentation in class about the islands beyond the horizon, saying that titans live there. His teacher scolds him and reminds him that there's nothing on the other side of the storm. Then a kid mocks him. When Anna comes to his defense, she gets scolded too. Neb insists that the storm is a lie created by the founders and his classmates start throwing objects at him. After class, a teacher talks to Neb's father Nicola, asking him to do something about his son's behavior. That night, Neb stands on top of a tree while a furious storm takes over the sky. Anna begs him to come down, but he refuses. Suddenly a lightning bolt strikes the tree and Neb, who falls to the ground with smoke emanating from him as he thinks he can finally be like Hammerhead. On the island of CIOs, guards take over the streets to start the evictions since both CIOs riders died in the race. A high-ranking Argos official known as the Baroness keeps an eye on everyone as the guards violently push the locals to the boats. After everyone is kicked out, the founders send machines to start digging. They're looking for a substance they call the element, which is said to defy death itself. On Fig, Neb is still in bed suffering from his injuries. Desperate to help him, his grandfather Dita decided to do something he swore to never do again. With an axe, he slashes a tree's branch and gathers the blue liquid that comes out of it. Then he puts this liquid on Neb's eyes, causing him to have a vision of Hammerhead sailing into the storm. Neb's eyes also turn stormy. When the excavation is done, the Baroness informs the founders that they didn't find anything. It turns out the element is the blue liquid Dita used, and they only have a decade left in reserve. The founders consider taking all the remaining islands by force, but the Baroness points out that if all the islanders together outnumber the Argos army, she thinks it's time to accept their fate and uses the expression amor fati, which means that both good and bad things are necessary in life. Leader Taurus disagrees and says he makes his own fate. He also scolds her for using that expression because it was used by the infamous thief Sychus. Taurus decides they must increase the races to empty the islands more quickly and avoid any more incidents. Sometime later Neb finally leaves the bed and points at the window as he has a vision of Hammerhead in a mysterious tunnel. Neb can't understand his visions, which often come without warning. Dita hugs him to comfort him. Meanwhile, a group of guards is diving and finds a sunken vessel. They inform Taurus that they've found Sychus' wreckage in the Bay of Gaia, so Taurus sends soldiers to the islands in that area hoping that he's still around. At the same time, Dita warns Nicola that he's seen the Baroness flag on the coast, which means she's coming for Neb. Rumors of the wreckage spread fast, so Anna and Neb take a boat to the Bay of Gaia even though Dita always forbade his grandson from going there. After admiring an amazing statue, they look underwater and see the guards inspecting the wreckage. When the kids try to leave, a guard captures them and takes them to the Baroness. While the duo pretends their boat ran dry and got lost, a soldier smells Anna's hair and concludes they're from Fig. The Baroness explains she's looking for a boy who was touched by the storm as she looks at Neb's eyes. Then she agrees to take the kids home and tells them how good life in Argos is. She also says that those touched by the storm can see through the cracks of time and their own destinies. The Baroness gives Anna a compass, explaining that taming your own fears makes a big difference. When the Baroness drops off the kids on Fig, she says Neb is a rider and not a farm boy, so a sponsor will be waiting for him when he grows up. Afterward, Dita tells the kids that he planted his tree the day Neb was born and it contained Psychus the last Titan, so they have a special bond. In Argos, Taurus meets with his scientist, who has finished replicating a key. He puts it on his wrist and uses it to activate a machine remotely, saying he'll bring a bigger storm. The lights are turned on for a few seconds before the machine loses the connection and shuts down. Furious, Taurus throws the scientists off the tower. Meanwhile, Dita opens a hole in the wall and pulls out a box he hid many years ago. He stares at the original machine key while having a vision of his younger self arriving on the island. 10 years pass and Anna and Neb are now in a romantic relationship. Neb deals with his visions every day, but he still doesn't know what they mean. He tells Anna that one vision is of her on Gaia wearing a red dress, so she replies by whispering a promise in his ear. Since this year the ban ends, Anna is practicing to join the race. Neb admits he's afraid of losing her and Dita asks him what he's seen in his visions, but Neb refuses to answer. That night Neb sees Anna riding into the storm to avenge her father, which kills her. A desperate Neb tries to return to the tree during a storm, but Dita stops him. One morning, the Baroness returns to Fig and Dita spits on the floor when he sees her. He insists that Neb shouldn't ride, but the Baroness thinks it's Neb's choice to make and gives him 1 year to decide if he wants her sponsorship. In the end, Neb decides to join the race just to protect Anna and Nicola helps him work on the boat. In the meantime, all the people who were kicked off their islands and survived are now living in the landless sea. Their children were born in boats and have never stepped on actual ground. They can only watch as the machines keep going from island to island, destroying the land without finding anything. After months of preparations, all the chosen riders are allowed to enter Argos for an orientation talk by Larry. They're reminded of the rules and the fact that compasses won't work near the storm, not to mention they'll be fighting inertia. After the meeting, Anna convinces Neb to ride with her to the storm and they kiss to seal their promise. At the same time, Taurus chooses a mighty warrior to be a bombhead, which is the name of the riders who kill for the founders during races. Taurus tells him to start with the riders from Fig. In the afternoon, the race finally begins. Anna and Neb are so desperate to clean their island's name that they immediately take the first place. For the first few minutes the race goes normally, but soon Bombhead guides his boat toward an opponent's vessel and destroys it. The race goes on normally again for a few more moments and Anna stays in first place. When they reach the final stretch, Bombhead attacks again but misses Anna because she's moving fast and he ends up destroying a different boat. When Anna sees an opening, she leaves the race and starts riding toward the storm. Both Neb and Bombhead immediately follow her, and as they approach the storm, Hammerhead surprisingly joins them. A lightning bolt suddenly strikes Hammerhead's boat and he disappears, because he's actually a vision that only Neb is having. Anna is getting too close to the storm, so Bombhead speeds up and crashes into her boat. Neb comes out of his vision too late and is devastated to watch his girlfriend drown. He jumps into the water and begins to swim toward her, but Bombhead rides past him to hit him. For a few seconds Neb floats without control while seeing the vision of Anna in the red dress. At the same time, Taurus is terrified to have a vision of Hammerhead appearing next to him. After the race, Neb is thrown into a cell. Overwhelmed with grief and guilt, he has a breakdown on the floor and can't differentiate his visions from his memories. Larry visits Neb and shares that when he was younger he agreed to be a bombhead, but he also mysteriously says that his people never needed saving. Then Neb meets with the Baroness, who tells him a story. Many years ago after the world drowned, the members of Operation Titan explored the oceans in search of hope for life. Eventually they found this archipelago, where islanders believed they were protected by the blood of the goddess Gaia. The founders renamed it the Element and founded Argos, a place where they could abuse the element to become immortal. Taurus took the technology that was supposed to protect an endangered environment and instead used it to create the storm that kept the islands trapped. He then started to dig to have an endless amount of the element for himself, so the islands were getting crushed and drained. Psychus got tired of this and stole the key before running away. He couldn't cross the storm and ended up on Fig, where he adapted the name Dita and started a new life. After the story, the Baroness gives Neb the compass she retrieved from Anna's body and sends him home. In Fig, Neb confronts Dita, calling him out for all the lies. Dita says he did it to protect him, but Neb doesn't listen. Later Neb buries a tree in Anna's name. Then he talks to Nicola, who explains that Dita often disappeared but never told him anything. What Dita did teach him was how to be part of the storm. In its center, there's a dancing bolt that supposedly can take any person to the other side, but Nicola was never able to catch it. Because of his visions, Neb thinks Hammerhead did catch it and he wants to try too. Nicola tells his father that Neb is ready, so Dita gives him the key and teaches him about the phrase Amor Fati. Before leaving, Neb takes Anna's tree. Meanwhile the Baroness warns Taurus that crop production has been declining and hunger incites revolution. She's already taken care of it, but Taurus isn't happy about her undermining his authority. In Argos, Neb is waiting for the next race while playing with the key, only to realize that it's also a compass that points at the Temple of the Founders. While thinking about possible plans, Neb notices Taurus staring at him. Later Nurse Maya helps Taurus take a new dose of the element. Taurus tries to be friendly with her and asks her to keep an eye on Neb. In the meantime, Neb asks Larry to teach him how to catch lightning. They go out together on the boat and Larry guides Neb on how to use the speed accordingly. Neb suddenly has a vision of crashing his boat into bombheads, but thankfully he snaps out of it just in time to avoid crashing in reality. Larry tells him he needs to tame his fear or he'll never win. When Neb returns to the city, Maya looks at his old scars while they chat. Neb casually shares that the woman he loves is in a tree in his room. Maya then takes him to the temple and asks the priests to help him with his injuries, but they refuse because they believe he's the one who will breach the storm. Neb notices a bunch of plants being drained for the element and decides to leave. Later on the street, Neb sees the red dress from his visions at a store. At that moment he bumps into Bombhead and furiously grabs him by his shirt, eager for revenge. However, Bombhead says they can only fight in the race and runs away. Neb immediately follows him and the chase has them running all over the city until they end up jumping into the water. The men swim to the closest shore and Neb jumps on Bombhead, demanding an explanation. He holds him underwater several times until Bombhead tells him that he promised Taurus to protect the storm. Neb lets him live and swears to defeat him in the race. Meanwhile, Maya tells Taurus about Neb's tree and that Psychus is hiding on Fig. In his room, Neb is getting desperate to achieve his victory. After having another vision of Anna, he cuts her tree to access the element. Then he visits Larry to ask for his help with a plan. The following day the next race finally begins. Bombhead doesn't waste time and bumps into Neb's boat just to taunt him, but everyone stays calm for the first stretch of the race. Neb is in second place by the time they reach the second stretch and Taurus thinks he'll try to go to the storm, but nothing happens. Bombhead speeds up and takes a shortcut to catch up to Nebraska when the lightning bolts are close enough at last. Neb guides his boat to catch them just in time. The boost moves him ahead and he takes over first place. In just a few minutes, he wins the race. To everyone's shock, Neb suddenly turns the boat around and sails toward Bombhead, who refuses to move. At the last second, Neb jumps off his boat, so only Bombhead dies in the resulting explosive crash. Nobody sees Neb jump, so it's assumed he's dead too. The commentator announces that the Fig Islanders won't be allowed to come to Argos as punishment for Neb's actions. Meanwhile, Taurus makes his soldiers surround the Baroness, scolding her for not telling him that Psychus was on Fig. Soon the radio announces that the army is going to Fig to search for the thief. Underwater, Neb meets with Larry, who provides him with diving equipment. Following the compass, Neb swims to the temple and uses a hidden underwater tunnel to get inside. To his shock, all the priests had already been knocked out. It turns out the Baroness and her men arrived first and took care of them. When Neb asks who the Hammerhead is, the Baroness removes her contact lenses and reveals she's been having visions too. She guides Neb through his own visions so he can finally see the truth. He is Hammerhead. All along, the visions showed Neb in the future, so Dita and the Baroness spread the stories until he was ready to embrace his destiny. With the boat and gear prepared by Larry, Neb leaves the temple under his new identity. When the Baroness returns to the main chamber, she discovers that Taurus has killed all the other founders. An argument ensues, but Taurus gets distracted when he sees Hammerhead sailing away. Soon crowds are gathering on the city walls to cheer for the legendary hero, but this also means that Bombhead and other soldiers start chasing after him. Once the enemy is close enough, Hammerhead captures Lightning on his boat and uses Larry's modifications to shoot it back, destroying all his opponent's vessels with a single attack. At the same, the army opens fire to start destroying Fig Island. Dita watches the destruction as he whispers Amor Fati. Meanwhile, Hammerhead manages to enter the storm and captures any lightning bolt that gets too close. Not a single bolt manages to stop him, and soon he makes it to the other side. Taurus sees this on the radar and realizes his reign is over. On the other side, Hammerhead finds a large island and a building with the machine creating the storm. Using the original key, he turns off the device and the storm finally disappears after years of terror. As citizens celebrate all over Argos, Taurus says Amor Fati before jumping to self-delete. Hammerhead admires the clean sky and remembers Anna's promise. She'd wear the dress after the storm disappeared. Before leaving, he throws the liquid from her tree on the dry ground to reawaken it. A flashback reveals that the Baroness retrieved Anna's body from the sea and revived her with the element. Hammerhead goes to the coast of Gaia and finds Anna waiting for him in the red dress. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.